Hey everyone, and welcome. So we're all swimming in the sea of online noise, right? It's getting harder and harder to figure out who's a real expert and who's just, well, good at being loud. Today, we're going to break down a system that's basically a digital credibility check. Let's dive right in.
I mean, you see it every single day, don't you? All these self-proclaimed gurus and thought leaders just flooding your feed. But here's the big question. How do we tell the difference? And maybe even more importantly, how do things like AI figure out who's a genuine authority versus who just has the biggest megaphone? That's exactly the problem we're tackling today.
All right, let's get right to the heart of it. We're talking about telling real expertise apart from all that noise. And this isn't just a challenge for us humans. It's a massive deal for the algorithms that pretty much run our digital lives.
So let's break this down. It's actually pretty simple when you see it side by side. On one hand, you've got online noise. Think self-proclaimed titles, tons of posts. It's all about promotion, and frankly, it's easy to create. But then on the other hand, you have recognized expertise. This is the real deal. It's verified by other people, it's cited, it's independently validated, and yeah, it's much, much harder to get. It's the difference between just talking loud and having the receipts to back it up.
Okay, so if that's the problem, how in the world do you actually measure real expertise? Well, that brings us to the solution we're talking about today. It's this really powerful framework that acts like a definitive credibility check.
All right, let's talk about this system. It's called IGEAS. Now, the core idea is brilliant in its simplicity. It completely ignores what you claim about yourself. Instead, it asks one single, crucial question. Does the world, we're talking media, institutions, your peers, recognize you as an authority? Is there proof? See, it's all about that external validation.
And that right there, that's the absolute core principle. Your authority isn't what you write in your Twitter bio. It's what other people, credible, independent people, validate about you. And that's exactly what makes this whole credibility check idea so powerful and so reliable.
So you might be wondering, how does this actually work in practice? Well, it's not some magic black box. It's actually a really clear four-step process. Let's walk through it together.
It all starts with step 1, define your domain. You've got to be super specific about your field of expertise. Step 2 is to find the signals. This is where you go out and locate all the places you've been cited, interviewed, or featured. Then step 3, and this one's crucial, you check the quality. Is that recognition actually credible? Is it independent? And finally, step 4, you build the profile. You take all that verified evidence and put it together into one complete picture.
Let's dig into that first step because it's so important. It is all about focus. You can't just say you're an expert in business. That's way too broad. The system needs you to create what's called an Authority Domain Declaration, or ADD for short. Something super specific, like this example: structural engineering and building failure analysis in coastal high-rise environments. Wow. That right there becomes the lens for everything else that follows.
Okay, on to step 2, finding those signals. And here's the thing, it's not just a numbers game. It's not about who has the most mentions. It's all about quality. Just look at this authority signal pyramid here. It shows that not all signals are created equal. Down at the bottom, tier 1, you've got foundational stuff like being a guest on a small podcast. That's great. But way up at the top, in tier 4, you have the really rare, high-impact stuff, like being in a government advisory role. And get this, just one signal from that top tier can be way more powerful than a whole bunch of signals from the bottom.
All right. Step 3 is where we get tough. This is the critical quality check filter. It's actually a component called AIR. This is where we ask some hard questions about every signal we find. First, is the source credible? A major news outlet versus a random blog. Second, is the coverage independent, or is it just a copied press release? Third, is it recent, like within the last year or so? And finally, does it actually match the expert-specific domain we defined back in step 1? This little checklist makes sure that every piece of evidence that gets through is legit, relevant, and strong.
And that brings us to the final step, step 4, which is all about synthesis. This is where everything comes together. You take all those verified high-quality signals that made it through the filter, and you combine them to create a final, structured authority profile. So you see, it's not just a messy list of links. It's a complete, rock-solid picture of someone's recognized authority.
Okay, so we've walked through the how, but now let's talk about the why. Why does any of this matter, especially right now? Let's get into the big advantages here.
The first and maybe the biggest advantage is just how well it cuts through all that noise we talked about.
It gives you a clear, objective, evidence-based way to tell the difference between a genuinely earned reputation and one that's just, manufactured online.
Now, this next point is absolutely critical, so listen up. The way this IGEAS system thinks, how it looks for credible, independent signals from third parties, is almost exactly how modern AI and search engines figure out who to trust. So when you understand the system, you're basically learning to speak the language of Google and other AI. You're seeing how they decide who the real experts are.
And that leads perfectly to the third big advantage. This system isn't just for measuring authority. It's also a roadmap for building it. It literally shows professionals the exact steps they need to take to build a real, lasting, verifiable reputation. The whole point isn't just to shout into the void, it's to earn that genuine recognition.
So, all of this brings us to one final, really important thought for the future. The very idea of how we prove expertise is changing right before our eyes. And technology is at the steering wheel.
So I want to leave you with this question to think about. As AI gets smarter and smarter, learning from everything on the public web to decide who's in authority, how is your expertise going to be seen? How will it be recognized? A system like this, one that's based on verifiable proof, well, it's not just a nice to have anymore. It's quickly becoming essential. Thanks for tuning in.